Hello everyone, so we're gonna look at Oxford AdvancedSet 5 B2 Text 6 today. So I'd like to start off with a short summary of the passage or the text type, and we'll go over just a few questions to give you some pointers as to how to complete some of the questions. So right off the bat, we like to talk about the text type. So if you look at the title, right away they tell you what the genre of the text is. It's a research report. So if you look at the words, it's about smoking, particularly about passive smoking, okay? And what about, so the health hazards of passive smoking. Right away you know what this whole report is about. If you look at the layout of this report, right away you know it's divided into different sections, and we got a conclusion here. It's probably not something unfamiliar to you. For a report as such, you would find that the language used is quite formal, and you probably encounter some jargon, which is a very good type of text to actually test you, because some of the vocabulary would be more difficult. So this would help examiners to gauge your English level. So if you look at the introduction, you would see that it actually presents you with some research, some findings, how significant health risks is actually associated with this passive smoking. So one thing to remind you is that when you read any passage, if you want to read fast, if you want your brain to be prepared for what is to come, it's always good to read very quickly the first paragraph. Of course, the title, heading, and then the first paragraph. So first paragraph is really about research that has found, significant health risks associated with passive smoking. Okay, and they actually talk about this ETC, so it's good to, if they have something like this, it's good to kind of remember what this is: environmental tobacco smoke. Okay, how it actually leads to a wide range of chronic health conditions. So let's go to the last bit of this. If you quickly skim this, you would see, especially this paragraph here, okay, the health hazards of passive smoking are serious, but the key thing is that it also can easily be prevented if smoking can be reduced or eliminated among parents. Okay, so you would see that, okay, if this is the conclusion, you kind of can guess already what the whole report is about. So this is how you actually prepare your brain for information to come. Okay, this should help. Okay, moving on, I have chosen this question 57, to kind of go over with you. So so this is your passage, okay, paragraph 3, and this is the summary you need to fill in. So this is the question: based on the information in paragraph 3, completes the summary by writing one word. So remember, it's one word in each blank. So you need to make sure the grammar, it's grammatically correct. That means you need to pay attention to part of speech, okay? So I've written here a very short guideline for you to tackle these questions, okay? So first, you want to read both passages. I also call this a passage. So read this part, the original passage, and the summary, okay? If you can right away write down the answers, you can get clues from the passage and write it down in the summary, that's fine, that's great. But sometimes if you actually cannot you know, find which is the missing word here, then you can follow these steps. So step number 2 would be to cross out the repeated words. Okay, so we'll take some time to do that. So starting from here, okay, because it's paragraph 3, so it is this paragraph. Okay, so exposure to ETC within 1 year of birth. So we'll need to find this here. Okay, within the first year of life. Already these are repeated. Within the first year of life, first 1 year of birth. It's the same thing. Okay, so we actually, so this blank would not be about first year of life. All right, so exposure to ETC, we got ETC here, exposed to. Okay, so we can cross all that out. The risk of SIDs drastically. Okay, right here, elevated risk of, ooh, this is the lengthier version of SID, right? So this is really to throw you off, but you don't need to be scared. Okay, so risk. Okay, so drastically. Now here right away you kind of know what is missing, right? We got this infant, got face and elevated. Okay, so what could this be? Exposure to ETC within 1 year of birth. So what do you need? It is a verb you need. This is something, verb, the risk. Okay, what about the risk? So being exposed, blah, 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 to ETC within 1 year of birth. Verb, the risk. Okay, here, so within the first year of life, infants exposed to ETC face an elevated. Okay, so here, I wouldn't choose infants because we actually need a verb here, right? Okay, so I would say exposure to ETS within 1 year of birth. So elevate, is it elevated? It's not, right? This is a general sense. Okay, so generally exposure to ETC within a year of birth elevates. This would be like a singular noun, right? Singular noun phrase. Okay, so elevates the risk of SID drastically. Okay, so what we did just now was reading, going back to the instructions, so reading both passages, reading the passage and the summary. Okay, cross out repeated words. Of course, you don't actually need to do this for every single blank unless you find it very difficult. Okay, then you can do this, and you use the leftover vocabulary and see if it fits the meaning. So we had this infant word here and even face. Okay, but elevated is the word that can actually fit here. And you need to change the parts of speech. Okay, so last tip here, number 5, beware of the appearance of sentences in the summary that may not appear in the same order. So if you go through these, you will see what I mean, because let's say this is like sentence 1, and then we have sentence 2 here, and then 3 and 4, but actually it could appear to be like 1, 3, 2, 4. Okay, so just know that the summary may not be in the same order. The sentences may not be in the same order. Okay, so have fun doing the rest of that question. And we're moving on to question 62. Okay, so true, false, and not given. So what you want to do is, so I've given some pointers here. So number 1, you go through each statement. So these are the statements. And highlight keywords, okay? Because we want to check whether these statements, whether it matches with it's laid out in the passage. Or is it like saying the opposite meaning, okay? Or is not given. It's actually not, you don't have that much detail. Okay, so a lot of students find it a bit difficult to know, what is false and then what is not given. I've written here, I might help you a bit. So True, it's easy, okay? It's whatever is said, whatever is stated in the statement, it actually aligns with what is stated in the passage, okay? So agreement, okay? There's agreement here, all right? So if it's false, this is very important. It expresses the opposite meaning, okay? So it's not like it's not mentioned, but it actually tells you something opposite. So in the statement, they would disagree, okay? So there's like disagreement, and you can see that later on when we do the question. So not given is actually not mentioned in the passage. It's not true. It's not false. I cannot definitely say this is not true, okay? It's not mentioned. It's not given. I cannot give a judgment, okay? So let's go through okay, let's go through the first one first. Okay, here. I'll use the yellow. So oral health, okay, quite important to underline the words in the statement. So oral health can be affected, influenced, okay, positively or negatively by childhood exposure to ETS, okay. So let's look for these keywords. So let's look for anything that has to do with oral health, okay? So starting with paragraph 7 to 8, right? So we're here, 7 and 8. So passive smoking can also result in deterioration. Okay, that's like bad. Okay, deterioration of the sense of smell. Oh, dental issues right here. Okay, of course, dental issues and oral health, we're talking about the same thing. Yeah, dental, teeth issues, okay? Oral health, what's inside your mouth, okay? So here, if you're looking a bit further, it is associated with higher incidence of hospitalization, chronic illness throughout childhood and into adulthood. Okay, so we are talking about like childhood, and we are talking about passive smoking. If you look up this word again, you will see it is about passive smoking. Okay, so can be affected would match with deterioration. Okay, can, so this is definite. The use of modal verb here, can, it matches, okay? So passive smoking can result in in deterioration. That means that matches with can be affected, right? So a negative influence on the dental issue, on our oral health. So right away, it actually matches. So here is true, okay? And let's go to number 2. So childhood exposure to ETS leading cause of lung cancer, okay? So I've highlighted here already. So our answer is here. In terms of cancers, childhood exposure to smoke is causally related to lung cancer in adulthood, okay? So here it means that it is related, okay? But how related, whether lung the exposure to ETC is the leading cause, it's the number one cause, the major cause, okay, of lung cancer, it actually does not give us that much information for us to judge, okay? So we cannot say it is leading cause, but we cannot say it's false because it is related, okay? The exposure to ETS is related to lung cancer, okay? So what do we do? Okay, so this is where it comes to where we have to check not given, because not enough information is given for us to actually judge, okay, this statement. Okay, so I can't say it's true. It's not true because it doesn't say it's leading, okay? It's related, but not leading. It's very different, okay? I can't say it's false because it is related. It's not false, okay? I can only say, oh, not given. I cannot judge with the information given here. So let's go down to the next one, okay, which is number 3. Exposure to ETS can definitely cause lymphoma. Okay. Now, if you look up here, okay, I've highlighted already, okay. Keywords here, lymphoma right here, lymphoma. So if you look, exposure also appears correlated with childhood cancers such as lymphoma, leukemia, brain tumors. However, okay, please read on. However, a definitive causal link between exposure and these cancers has not yet been confirmed or not yet been affirmed. Okay, so there is a link, okay, but you actually cannot say it's can definitely cause lymphoma here, okay. You cannot be so sure, okay, because it's actually not yet confirmed. All right, so here you would actually, this is actually not a definite case here, okay. So right now at this moment, the link is that it is related, but it's not yet affirmed. So right at this moment, the researchers are saying that, you know, there's a link but not yet affirmed. So you cannot actually say this definitely cause, okay. This is actually false because right now the conclusion is not yet affirmed, okay. So you would say false here. So I'll leave this last one with you. All right, on to our last question for this video is question 75. All right, so if you look at the question below, are comments made by some people mentioned in text 6 match each person with one comment. Okay, so you're matching people with the comments, okay. So you can use the letter only once. It's very important that you read the instruction, because once, you know, it's very important that you don't reuse. Also here, comment, one comment is not used, so you can actually select not applicable. So some tip here, of course there are other ways you can do this, but here is how I would do it. So first you would locate the name. So here are 5 people with one not applicable. Okay, so you want to match these people, and these names actually appear in your passage. Okay, so I actually cropped the passage out regarding this question. So I have picked this question 6. Okay, and so what we want to do is locate the name in the passage. Okay, number 2, what does the person say? Because essentially you are trying to match this made up comment. Okay, this is actually made up, so you don't see this in the passage. Okay, this is made up, but it would actually contain the stance or the view of the person